Sometimes life doesn't change loudly. Sometimes it changes when something priceless leaves. This is not just about heartbreak. This is about what happens inside a woman after she loses a good man. Not the dramatic kind of loss, the quiet one, the kind that arrives after the door closes and the silence stays. At first, everything appears normal. The same streets, the same people, the same routine of days that once felt familiar. On the outside, life continues without interruption. Conversations still happen, laughter still exists, responsibilities still demand attention. Yet inside, something has shifted in a way that cannot be explained easily. The world feels quieter, not because sound has disappeared, but because meaning has. The nights begin to stretch longer, the evenings feel heavier, and even crowded rooms carry an unfamiliar sense of emptiness. There is a strange discomfort in realizing that presence is not the same as connection. People can surround you, voices can fill the air, and still the heart feels like it is missing something essential. It is in these moments that memory starts to surface, not in dramatic flashes, but in small, almost invisible reminders. The tone of a voice that once calmed the mind, the way problems used to feel smaller simply because someone steady was there. The sense of safety that never demanded attention yet quietly supported everything. Only after the loss does the mind begin to recognize the value of what once seemed ordinary. Patience that never complained, loyalty that never asked for proof, effort that never made noise. These qualities were always present, but they blended into the background of everyday life, unnoticed, uncelebrated, taken for granted. Now they stand out sharply against the silence they have left behind. Even the simplest moments begin to change. Mornings feel different without the quiet reassurance that used to exist. Decisions feel heavier without the steady presence that once made uncertainty easier to carry. The heart starts noticing how often comfort was there without ever being requested, how many problems felt manageable simply because someone consistent existed nearby. There is also confusion, because nothing truly looks broken from the outside. The world still moves, time still passes, and life continues its routine. Yet inside, there is an unmistakable awareness that something rare has slipped away. The mind begins to replay moments that once felt insignificant, conversations that ended too quickly, gestures that were never properly acknowledged, efforts that were silently received but never deeply appreciated. This is what the silence after loss creates. It doesn't arrive with chaos or destruction. It arrives with clarity, a slow, painful understanding that something meaningful was present all along, quietly shaping life, and only now, in its absence, does its importance become impossible to ignore. Regret does not arrive suddenly. It does not knock loudly or announce itself. It enters quietly, settling into the mind during the stillest hours of the night, when the world outside is asleep and the heart is left alone with its thoughts. The room feels darker, the silence heavier, and memories begin to surface without permission. They arrive slowly, one by one, each carrying a weight that did not exist before. The mind starts replaying moments that once felt harmless. Words spoken too casually, words that should have been spoken but never were. Choices that were made with the confidence that tomorrow would always look the same. The heart begins to recognize how often something precious was treated as permanent, as if it could never leave, as if its presence required no protection. There is a painful awareness in realizing that value is often understood only after it is lost. What once felt familiar now feels irreplaceable. What once felt ordinary now feels sacred. Every small act of patience, every quiet sacrifice, every effort that went unnoticed now stands in sharp contrast to the emptiness that has replaced it. The heart keeps returning to the same questions, searching for answers that never come. Why was it not seen sooner? Why was it assumed that consistency would last forever? Why did the mind confuse comfort with something that could be taken lightly? The weight of regret is not loud, but it is constant. It follows into every quiet moment. It appears during late walks, long drives, and empty rooms. It shows up in conversations that suddenly feel incomplete. It settles in the chest as a pressure that cannot be explained to anyone else. There is also a deep sense of self-blame that grows alongside it, not harsh or dramatic, but steady and persistent. The awareness that certain moments could have been handled differently, that certain words could have been chosen more carefully, that certain priorities were misplaced. The heart begins to realize that what was once present in abundance is now gone, and no amount of wishing can reverse that truth. This is what regret becomes after the loss of something meaningful. not a passing emotion, but a quiet companion, reminding the heart of what it failed to protect when it had the chance. There comes a moment when the weight inside the chest becomes heavier than tears. The eyes remain dry, but the heart feels overwhelmed by a pressure that words cannot describe. The mind grows tired from carrying too many memories, and the body begins to feel the exhaustion of holding in emotions that were never fully released. Sleep becomes shallow, interrupted by thoughts that refuse to settle. Even in moments of rest, the mind continues its quiet struggle, replaying scenes that once felt simple but now feel deeply significant. In this state, everything begins to return, the smallest details. The sound of laughter during ordinary days, the quiet comfort of presence during difficult ones, the way conversations flowed without effort, the way silence once felt safe instead of empty. These memories arrive without warning, and each one leaves the heart slightly heavier than before. There is an ache that comes with realizing that something rare was once close enough to touch, close enough to feel, close enough to shape daily life, and yet it was never fully recognized for what it truly was. The mind begins to understand that real connection is not built on excitement or intensity alone. It is built on consistency, patience, and emotional safety. These are the things that once existed quietly without demanding attention, and these are the things that are now missed the most. Loneliness changes its meaning. It is no longer about being physically alone. It becomes the absence of a specific presence, the loss of a certain kind of peace. Crowded rooms do not help. Conversations feel distant. Smiles feel temporary. The heart understands that what is missing cannot be replaced by noise, distractions, or new faces. The emotional collapse is not dramatic. There is no public breakdown, no visible chaos. Instead, there is a slow unraveling inside, the realization that love was not something that needed to be chased, but something that was already there, steady and reliable. The understanding that the most powerful form of connection is often the quietest. And in this realization, the heart begins to grieve, not just for what was lost, but for the version of self that failed to recognize its value when it was still within reach. Pain does not leave a person the way it finds them. It reshapes everything quietly, working beneath the surface, changing the way the heart thinks, the way the mind decides, and the way the soul responds to the world. After the loss, there is a long period of reflection where nothing feels the same. Old beliefs begin to collapse. Old patterns begin to lose their power. The heart becomes more careful, not out of fear, but out of understanding. There is a noticeable shift in priorities. What once seemed important no longer carries the same weight. Attention, excitement, and temporary affection lose their appeal. The heart begins to search for something deeper, something that feels stable rather than intense, something that offers peace instead of emotional chaos. The eyes become sharper, able to distinguish between what looks good and what truly feels right. That standards rise naturally, not because of pride, but because of experience. The heart has learned the cost of misjudgment. It has learned that not everything that shines is valuable and not everything that is quiet is weak. Decisions are no longer driven by impulse. They are guided by clarity. The soul becomes disciplined in the choices it makes, unwilling to settle for connections that lack depth or honesty. There is also a growing sense of self-awareness. The heart understands its own needs better. It recognizes what it can tolerate and what it can no longer accept. Boundaries become firmer, not as walls, but as protection for something that has already been wounded and healed. Attraction changes its meaning. It is no longer about chemistry alone. Character becomes the foundation. Words lose their power without actions to support them. Promises are measured against consistency. The mind learns to listen to behavior instead of hope. Through this transformation, something powerful happens. Strength is no longer loud. Confidence is no longer performative. The heart becomes steady, grounded, and clear. The pain that once felt unbearable becomes the teacher that reshapes the future. And in this new awareness, life begins to move forward with a deeper sense of purpose and direction. The deepest pain does not come from the moment of separation. It comes later when the mind finally understands what was lost. It is the quiet realization that something genuine was present, steady and real, and it was not held with the care it deserved. The heart begins to recognize that love is not proven through dramatic gestures or constant excitement, but through consistency, loyalty, and emotional presence. And it is only after these qualities disappear that their true weight is fully understood. There is a heavy awareness that settles in when the heart finally accepts that some opportunities do not return. Certain connections are not replaced. Some people come into life only once, carrying a rare combination of patience, stability, and sincerity that cannot be recreated. When that presence is gone, it leaves behind a silence that nothing else can quite fill. The mind begins to reflect on the moments that were overlooked, the times when care was shown quietly, the efforts that were made without complaint, the sacrifices that were offered without expecting anything in return. These memories now feel sacred, not because they were perfect, but because they were real. And the heart understands too late that real is far more valuable than anything temporary or exciting. There is also a shift in how love is perceived. It is no longer something to be played with or taken lightly. Love becomes something serious, something meaningful, something that requires responsibility. The heart becomes slower to trust, but when it does, it trusts deeply. It learns that every connection carries consequences and every choice leaves a mark. The final truth is this: loss does not simply remove someone from life. It transforms the way the heart approaches everything that comes after. Love is no longer innocent. It is thoughtful, cautious, and deeply aware. And though the pain of losing something good never fully disappears, it becomes the foundation upon which wiser choices are built. Some people enter life as comfort, some leave as teachers. But losing a good man teaches a lesson that no words ever could. If you are listening to this while holding someone genuine, remember, not all love returns once it is lost.